You can work harder than everyone else. You can read the right books. You can follow every strategy, and still sabotage your own success. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack talent, but because something inside you is quietly working against you. Carl Jung called it the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is not a demon. It is not your weakness. It is the part of you you refused to become conscious of. Every desire you judged as unacceptable. Every emotion you were punished for expressing. Every impulse you learned to suppress. They didn't disappear. They went underground. And from the underground, they run your life. They decide why you procrastinate at the finish line, why you self-destruct when success gets close, why you sabotage relationships, money, power, and growth. If you don't face your shadow, it will sabotage your success. If you do face it, it becomes your greatest source of power. This video will show you what Jung's shadow really is, how it secretly sabotages success, the hidden patterns of self-destruction, how to tame it without destroying yourself. This is not motivational talk. This is psychological warfare against your unconscious. Jung discovered something uncomfortable. The mind is not unified. You are not a single personality. You are a system of competing forces. At the center is the ego, the identity you consciously claim. I am disciplined. I am kind. I am ambitious. But the ego is selective. It chooses what traits are acceptable. Everything else is rejected. That rejected material forms the shadow. The shadow contains aggression, a sexual desire, envy, greed, laziness, power hunger, vulnerability, a fear. Not because they are bad, but because you were taught they were unacceptable. As a child, you learned, good boys don't get angry. Good girls don't want power. Successful people don't feel fear. So you adapted. You split yourself. You kept the acceptable traits. You buried the rest. But here is Jung's warning. What you repress does not disappear. It becomes autonomous. It acts without your permission. The shadow does not sabotage consciously. It sabotages compulsively. You tell yourself you're lazy. But laziness is rarely the cause. Often, procrastination is the shadow saying, if I can't be perfect, I won't try. Hidden beneath procrastination is fear of exposure, fear of judgment, or fear of surpassing others. Success threatens your identity. If you succeed, you might be envied, you might be attacked, you might outgrow people you love. So the shadow delays action to protect you. Not logically, emotionally. Why do people collapse right before success? Jung observed this pattern repeatedly. The closer you get to power, money, or recognition, the louder the shadow becomes. Why? Because success forces responsibility. And responsibility threatens the shadow's secrecy. So it creates chaos. Missed deadlines, impulsive decisions, destructive habits, a sudden loss of motivation. Not because you want to fail, but because part of you fears being seen. Imposter syndrome is not low confidence. It is unintegrated shadow. A part of you believes, I am a fraud. I don't deserve this. Why? Because you disowned your own competence. You were taught, don't brag. Stay humble. Know your place. So when success arrives, your shadow whispers, you stole this. When the shadow is ignored, it seeks outlets. Porn, substances, endless scrolling, compulsive eating. These are not moral failures. They are pressure valves. The shadow wants expression. If you don't give it conscious expression, it will take unconscious control. The more virtuous you try to be, the stronger your shadow becomes. Jung warned, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. Excessive goodness creates repression. Repression creates explosion. This is why moral crusaders fall hardest, spiritual leaders self-destruct, disciplined achievers collapse. They did not integrate their darkness. They tried to erase it, and it erased them instead. Stop judging your impulses. Start studying them. Ask, when do I sabotage? What emotion appears right before? What am I afraid would happen if I succeeded? The shadow hides in patterns. Patterns reveal its motives. You are aggressive. You are selfish sometimes. You want power. You feel envy. This does not make you evil. It makes you human. The moment you admit it consciously, the shadow loses control. Repressed energy is destructive. Integrated energy is productive. Aggression becomes assertiveness, a boundaries, a leadership. Desire becomes a drive, creativity, a vision. The goal is not suppression. It is transformation. Jung used active imagination. Sit alone. Write a dialogue. Let the shadow speak. Ask, what do you want? What are you protecting me from? You'll be shocked by the intelligence of what answers. You cannot kill the shadow. Trying to do so creates neurosis. You can only integrate it. When integrated, confidence stabilizes, a discipline becomes natural, success no longer triggers collapse. The shadow becomes your ally. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is your rejected strength. It sabotages you only when ignored. When faced, it becomes fuel. Success is not achieved by becoming pure. It is achieved by becoming whole. And wholeness begins where denial ends.